Well, hello there. This is Amethyst again with a reading for you, BC. It's reading number 850. So you asked me primarily about career prospects and friendships and a little bit about finances and stuff, and we'll see what comes out of this for you. What heads this up is this Ogham stave here, which is Dewar or Oak. Personally, I think this is one of the most stable of the Ogham staves to have, particularly when it's sitting in this position here, which is theming the whole of your reading. So while you're talking about at the moment a feeling that you have of being at a crossroads, of, I guess, being at a doorway which isn't yet open to you, and when it does open you have no idea what's on the other side of it. Oak talks very much about, yeah, there are changes coming up, we can see that here quite clearly, but they're not going to be such that you fall apart at the seams or that your whole life is dramatically changed. I'm going to pick up on that a little bit more, but I guess what I'm trying to say here with Dewar or Oak is that it's very much about stability and longevity. Now that doesn't mean routine, particularly not for you, and it doesn't mean boring, but it does mean that whilst there are changes coming, you're going to be able to cope with them okay. The other thing with Dewar or Oak, the other two things with Dewar or Oak are that it tells us that the period that's coming up for you is one of fairly hard work. Dedication is required for you in the coming year. It's going to be, they're telling me that you're going to have your head down, your bum up kind of thing. So it's all about just getting stuck into work. Now the other thing with Oak that comes through very, very strongly is that you are going to need to make sure that you balance yourself really well in the next 12 months. So instead of being all work, 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 work and no play, you need to find a way where you can have a degree of balance between the two, because otherwise you will run the tendency to snap. You have in the past, they're telling me, had the potential on occasions to work yourself to the point of almost being burnt out, and I can see some of this here, and I'm going to talk about this briefly in a moment. So in the next 12 months, whilst there are some changes coming up in terms of career and all of that kind of stuff, it is also very much a time where you need to look at what are the things that I need to focus on in my personal life as well as in my financial, vocational life, okay? So this year ahead is not just learning about new ways to make money in terms of career, but it's also a year when you need to spend some time and have an undercurrent of learning about who you are, and that comes up very much in here as well. So it's a dual year, if you like. It's not just one where you're going to learn lots in a new career, it's also one where you're going to learn an awful lot about who you are as well. Okay, so let's have a look over here. I'm not going to spend an awful lot of time on this, partly because it's headed up by Strafe and I don't particularly like that one, but also because I think the answers to your questions are more here than they are here. But I'd just like to do this to give it a little bit of context. These three staves here talk a little bit about the past, and this is headed up with Strafe or Blackthorn. And Blackthorn is my least, in comparison to this, my least favourite stave out of all of them. This is about sadness, it's about frustration, it's about tears, it's about unhappiness, it's about depression, and for people who have a tendency towards depression, this often comes up. Now, I'm just going to pull your email back up again that you sent to me, You said that you feel like you're at a crossroads, and that you're about to embark on a new chapter, but that you say you've not done any preparation whatsoever, and you have no idea what this new beginning entails. I think you also mentioned in the email as well that you have limited self-confidence, and this is what this is all about as well. It's about that fear factor. So, you know, the analogy that I'm using is that whilst you might be at a crossroads, as you say, the analogy I want to use is that you're at the doorway. So standing right in front of you is a door. Now you can either choose to walk away from the door and go back the way you came, or you can open the door and step through it. The door is still locked at the moment because the universe isn't quite ready for you to step through it, and you have no idea what's on the other side of that door, and there's a bit of a fear factor around there. There's also for you, I keep feeling a sense of loneliness, which is coming out of this, and you felt lost, they're telling me, in the last 12 months or so, as though I guess life were passing you by. That's such a cliche, but as though everybody else were getting involved with their lives and getting on with life, and the world carries on, but you're just kind of in limbo. That's what's coming through. These two here, this is Alder or Fian, and this is about giving and receiving advice, and sitting over the top of this is Muin or Vine. Muin is very much about reaping what you sow. It's about harvesting what you've sown, and that's not always positive. If you sow less than productive seeds, then you get less than productive crops. So if you sow blighted seeds, you get poor quality crop. If you sow no seeds, you get no crop. If you sow good quality seeds, you get good crops. So what am I saying here? I'm saying that the point where you are in your life right now, you generated. Okay, it's a pretty harsh reality when you look at it that way. But that feeling that you have right now of being at a crossroads, at being a little bit lost, at being not sure what your next decision is you're in that place. You actually created the situation where that is. Now that's not a bad thing, okay? Sometimes we need a few months of having a bit of a breather, of having that bit of a limbo, being in limbo, because it gives us an opportunity sometimes to prepare for what's coming. And you mentioned to me that you're not prepared. You will be, okay? So at the moment, just I guess take on board that this is just a time of taking a breath before you take a step forward, okay? This one sitting here is Beth or Birch, and it's actually in the position that talks about what's happening for you right now. And interestingly, Birch is very much about new experiences. It's about taking risks. It's about stepping forward into new phases of life and new experiences, meeting new people. And again, you're on that cusp. You're at the door, you're just about to knock on the door, turn the doorknob and walk through the door. That's what this is all about. But let's kind of focus a little bit more here. I'm just going to go through each of these very briefly first, and then I'm going to tie it all together. There's some really good stuff happening here. This is Cole or Hazel. And this is about wisdom. Okay, and it sits in the position that themes your next 12 months. It's about the inner wisdom that you have. I'm going to pick up on that in a minute because this is really important for what's happening for you. Sitting on the top here is Lewis or Rowan, and that is about self-protection. And that's not just about legal protection or financial protection, but it's also about physical protection, emotional protection, and so on. And that's got a link with this one here in terms of making sure that in the coming year ahead that you don't overwork, and that you make sure that you balance and keep your physical health in check. So I'm going to pick up on that one in a minute. This one under here is very much linked to this here, and it's very rare that they actually come up sitting next door to each other. Quirt or Apple is about living a life which is full, which is authentic. I really like that word for this one. It's about listening to what your heart wants, what your soul wants, and actually living that life. But it sits underneath Lewis or Rowan, which tells me that there are things that you want to do unconsciously sometimes, and there are old dreams that you have had which you've buried, and you've buried them underneath your limiting self-confidence, and you'll continue to do that a little bit. It's the fear factor. I daren't actually take that step forward because I don't know what's going to happen. So I'm going to pick up on that a little bit more for you in a moment. And then finally, this one here is Ash or Newen, and it's kind of underpinning your next 12 months or so. It's about change and transformation, but it's about changes that other people impose on you rather than that you take control of. So what do we have here? I really want to focus and pull these two together with this one over here. I'm trying to find the right words here. It's really, really important that you spend the next 12 months doing what makes your heart sing. Okay? It is not about what pays the bank bills and puts money in the bank. It's about doing something that makes you feel fulfilled, that makes you feel that you are contributing not only to your life but to the community and the world around you. And that makes you feel, when you get up in the morning, excited because, wow, I'm going to go and do whatever it might be, okay? Because you have, in the past, had this tendency to do what other people expected of you, to do what society expected of you, and you've also limited your capabilities, limited your functioning, because one of your catch cries has been, I don't think I can do that. And I want you to change that. This is this one here. This has the potential to hold you back, yet again, if you allow it to do so. Okay? So I'm not sure whether I've given you this exercise before, but I'm going to give it to you now just in case. What they're saying here is that you have the potential to have an absolutely sensational year ahead if you have the courage to make it happen. So I want you to find a rubber band for me, just an elastic band, and I want you to slide it on your wrist. I'll just use this one as a bit of an example. It's got amethyst all over it, but just an ordinary elastic band. And I want you to put it on your wrist, and I want you to find one that's not so tight that it cuts off circulation, because you're going to need it on there for several weeks, okay? And I want you to spend the next 3 or 4 days listening to what your brain says to you. I want you to listen for the negative and the positive messages that your brain gives to you. And I'm going to almost guarantee that quite often your brain comes up with things like, well, you can't do that because you're not good enough. Or, well, that will never work for you. Or, I'm just not clever enough to do that. Or, I'm just not skilled enough to do that. I don't have enough confidence to do that. Do you get what I'm meaning? So a lot of the time I'm going to suggest that your brain says that to you. And I want you to write those down. Okay, I want you to write those down. And then when you've got a list of those things that your brain is saying to you about you, I want you to come up with an alternative sentence than that. So if your brain says to you, well, actually you can't do that because you're not clever enough, your alternative sentence is, actually I could do that because I am clever enough. Or if your brain says to you, I'm not confident enough to do that, your alternative sentence to that is, I am really confident I can do this. Do you understand what I'm saying? So for your list of negative comments that your brain says to you, I want you to write an opposing list of positive statements that you can use instead. Now, for the next 2 or 3 weeks after that, every time you feel your brain, hear your brain, notice your brain saying a negative statement to you about you, I want you to ping the elastic band, okay? Ping the elastic band. And when you do that, you may well say, ouch, ouch. and this is a really old behavioural technique. And the theory behind it, and then once you've done, I'll back that up again. I'll just say that again. Sorry, I got hiccups. You hear your brain saying something negative to you about you, and then immediately I want you to say the positive instead. So if your brain says to you, oh, you can't do that, you're not good enough. Actually, I am really good enough and I can do this. Okay. Now, after a few days, you're probably going to end up with a little bit of a bruise there. And you need to do that for about 2 or 3 weeks. And the idea there is that you're training your brain to rejig it to talk to you in a more positive way. And in so doing, you are going to open your world up a little bit more to accept that actually you can embrace the new opportunities that are coming to you. So when you want to open that door, you can open it, and instead of doing it in fear and worrying about what's about to happen, you can open the door with excitement, ready to jump through it. I'm hoping that makes sense. Now, the other thing that I want you to do, they're telling me very strongly here, is that I'd like you to get yet another piece of paper, and I want you to think about all of the old goals that you used to have. What are the old goals and targets and dreams and ideas that you used to have that you've kind of buried because you told yourself you couldn't do them, or because circumstances dictated to you that you couldn't do them, or you couldn't afford to do them, or you weren't well enough to do them, or a relative or a friend told you you weren't good enough for them? I want you to write those all down again. So if your dream was to be a theatre nurse, or if your dream was to be a writer, or if your dream was to be a policewoman, whatever your dream was, I want you to write those down. And then I want you to grow that list a little bit more. What are your new dreams now? What are the dreams, the secret dreams that you have, the secret goals that your negative side says, well, don't even think about that because you can't do it. But they're still kind of bubbling underneath. I want you to write them down. Because Mewen says here, when you acknowledge that that is a goal, and when you do that whole stuff here about recognising that actually you do deserve it, and you are pretty damn clever, and you are confident, you can achieve that stuff. But if you bury it in a box, you'll never achieve it because you're not even opening it up to the light for it to occur. These two here are saying very much that if you can revisit those old goals, and create new goals, but remember these are goals that are not just about making money. These are goals that are things that you absolutely love to do because it makes your heart sing, and as a result of that it will help your bank balance. So if your dream was, for instance, to go and be a geologist, I'm just going to pull that out of the air, and you've always said, well, I can't do that because I'm not clever enough, or I can't afford to go to uni, or whatever it might be, I want you to write that down on that list. Once you begin to see all of the goals that you can do and begin to realise, well, actually, can find a way to do this, that's these ones here, then it will begin to happen, okay? So it's really important that you acknowledge those dreams in this coming year. Now, what these are telling me is that once you have that list, you are then in a better position to open that door and begin to step through it. And the reason that you have felt that you are at a crossroads but completely unprepared and don't know where that's going is because you have still been in the dark. You have been denying what your real goals for your heart and your soul really are, and B, you've been telling yourself that you couldn't do it anyway. Okay, so we're going to get rid of those so that you can open that door, be prepared, feel prepared, and walk through it. come February of next year, there are some massive changes coming up for you, and I can see you studying again, and I can feel already when I say that the fear kind of bubbling up for you. Can't afford to study, it's just never going to happen. Well, I'm going to tell you that come February or March, it is going to happen. You will be studying, you will be training, you will be looking at new job opportunities as a result of that. And you're going to be excited. There's going to be trepidation, and you're going to be concerned, and you're going to wonder how on earth we're going to do this. You know, how is this going to happen? But it will happen, and it's going to be exciting, and it's going to be fun. Also, at the same time, you start generating a whole pile of new relationships as well, and some of those are going to be quite scary. Some of those experiences are going to be scary as well. It's going to be massive changes to your budget. You're going to have to make some sacrifices in terms of the budget, but it is going to be worth it in the long run. So I really encourage you to embrace those changes. Open the door, step through it. Take a big deep breath and go forward, because you can do this, and it is going to be tremendous. I want to just pick up on the relationship between these two though. You are going to, whilst there's going to be fear and there's going to be, oh, can I do this, still kind of bubbling in the background for you, you're going to be really dedicated and you're going to go for it. But you must make sure that you balance the work with some me time as well. Some time for you just to relax. And if that means sitting on the grass and doing nothing, then so be it. If that means sitting in a nice bath with essential oils and candles, then so be it. If that means curling up for all day in an armchair reading a book, then so do it. It's very much for you important over the coming 12 months that you care for your physical health and your emotional health, as well as balancing that with all of the new exciting stuff that's happening for you. Okay, so that means eating properly and not reverting to snack foods and emergency comfort foods. It's about eating really properly, and it's about making sure that you do some really sensible exercise over that 12-month period as well. It's also about finding ways. I'm being told that you can get anxious a fair bit, and that you can not necessarily have panic attacks, but you know, do a little bit of a freaky thing and really worry. Worry for you is a concern. Again, it's about taking that deep breath, and having faith that it's going to be okay. Find ways to relax in this coming year so that you are not stressed out, okay? Really important for you. Lots of new friends to meet. I don't see a romance in the next 12 months. I'm really sorry. I know that is something that you would like to have, but I don't see it happening inside the next 12 months. I do see at the end of that 12-month period a potential new romance for you, and it's going to be good fun. Don't jump into it as a serious relationship. Just enjoy that it's going to be some really good fun. There are lots of new friends to make for you over the next 12 months. Love it. Enjoy it. It's going to be fantastic. You are going to, they're telling me it's not a second job necessarily, but there is going to be a part-time role for you, which is going to help you get through all of the new training and the new studying that you're going to be doing in this year. It's not a part-time job that you particularly want, and it's not one that makes your heart sing and that you jump up in the morning and say, yay, I'm going to work. But it is a means to an end, because your new training, your new studying is the one that makes you wake up in the morning and say, yay, I'm loving life. So your job, the part-time job that you have, is a means to an end in order to enable you to do that. It's going to be a safe role, but it's not going to be one that you particularly enjoy. But go with it because it is that means to an end. They're telling me that the training that you take on board from the beginning of next year, end of January, February kind of time, is quite long term. It's at least 12 months. And it will involve you making some massive changes to your lifestyle in terms of sacrifice, particularly financial, and there will be about 3 month period of time where you're really quite concerned about how you're going to afford to do this. Take a deep breath and know that it's going to be okay. And at the end of that period, at the end of that training and that study, you are going to have more career prospects, and you're going to be in a much better position to feel that you are contributing to your community, contributing to your own life, contributing to society. And for you, that's been a dilemma, that's been an empty spot for you, so you're about to fill that again in the next year. I just also wanted to talk to you about your Druid Animal Oracle card, which is the Owl. I love this one. Owl, of course, is quite sensitive, is very quiet, is very thoughtful, and of course very wise. And Owl has a tremendous affinity with coal or hazel, and also with quert and apple, which were here for you as well. Owl, of course, is no fool. Owl does not tolerate stupidity or recklessness in other people very well. Owl is not loud. Owl is not gregarious. Owl kind of tends to stand back and watch other people, and keep to himself a little bit. And he learns from the mistakes of other people as well. I encourage you over the next 12 months to read up as much as you can about Owl, because you will find that Owl will be a wonderful animal mentor for you during the next 12 months. Think about the owl's propensity just to sit and watch, to remain calm, and to absorb wisdom, to absorb intellect, and to learn and grow. And that's what your next 12 months is all about. It's about learning and growing, both in career terms, but also in terms of who you are. This is a year coming ahead where you will learn an awful lot about the new career that you're going to enter into, but also a year when you're going to learn an awful lot more about you. So I hope that that's been beneficial for you, BC, and that it gives you and encourages you to step forward into the new challenges that you are about to embark on and love.